Hi guys, welcome back and thank you again for looking at my videos. I really appreciate all your comments and feedback that you've been giving to this channel. As you know, I'm still quite a young ECA in my role, so all my videos I put up is from my own personal perspective. So if I get things wrong, as in don't get the right word, or I don't get the right phrasing, or might get something in the wrong way round, that's just, the student coming out here, okay? But, things happen, and the learning continues, okay? So thanks again for dropping on and keeping in contact. Okay, so the first thing is a massive, massive hello, and thank you to Spencer and Deborah for watching this video overseas. Big friends from SL. So hi guys. I hope hope you're getting better, Spencer. Really, really hoping that you're getting over whatever your problems at the moment. And big hellos to Deborah on that. And also a massive hello to Shannon. Okay, congratulations for your C1. You're passing your C1 license. That's going to open masses of doors for you. And anyone who hasn't got a C1 license for their driving, once you get it, you can just go anywhere with it pretty much. It's an back in the 80s and 90s when I did when I did my license, it was pretty much you had the C1. But nowadays, if you're quite new to driving, the C1 is an extra thing to take, especially if you're wanting to drive an ambulance. Okay, if you're not sure about ECA jobs or you don't know much about driving, if you just pass your test, get your C1 as soon as possible, okay, because that's what's needed to drive an ambulance. Okay, so answer some questions which Shannon provided on an email to me, and very kindly said that I could answer it on a video. So this is for you, Shannon, and anybody else obviously who is interested in the answers. Again, I'll give my own personal perspective on this, and if they are not quite clinically right, my apologies, and I'm sure someone's going to correct me somewhere, so I'm still quite new into this whole ECA lark. So paras or paramedics and ECAs, we do pretty much the same job, we work as a team. However, ECAs assist paramedics, okay? So we go on front line, we go on blue lights, hence why the C1 as well. The paramedics are pretty much, they're the ones who've got their registration, so they are in charge and we assist them on that particular job. The paramedics and the ECAs do the same type of job. We assist with all the cardiac arrests and everything else. The main differences between a paramedic and an ECA is that a paramedic will be able to administer all the drugs, all the actual infusion drugs and the cannulas and things like that, okay? That's their registration. They have the responsibility to say this person needs morphine or this person needs some other medication, okay? We as ECAs cannot make that judgment call, okay? What we can do is we can administer two things, and that is oxygen and Entonox. So oxygen is the oxygen to put the oxygen back into your blood supply. So if someone's got COPD, so look it up, and needs some more oxygen for whatever reason, or if they're just having a bad time, with their breathing in general, then we can supply oxygen. Okay, Entonox, as a lot of ladies will probably remember if they were pregnant, is what they used to call laughing gas. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they call it laughing gas in the old days, which is half oxygen, half nitrous oxide, and that dulls the receptors in the brain for pain. And it's self-administrated, so you have that sounding sound, and the patient basically draws on the Entonox themselves. It responds very quickly, and then you take it away, and it goes very quickly. Okay, so those are the two things we are allowed to administer as a drug. Everything else the paramedic has to do. Now, as an ECA, we are allowed to draw up the drugs, okay, which means we can get the cannula of the morphine. We have to check the date. We have to check it says morphine, for example. And some paramedics will allow you to use a drawing up needle, take the morphine, then take the sodium chloride. Sodium chloride? Yeah. The water to go with it. So this is the newbie thinking, not I'm too late in night for this. To draw up and combine into the 10 ml syringe. Okay, but we are not allowed to actually administer that morphine or that combination into the patient. That's the paramedic's job. Okay, again, it's their registration. So Shannon, your first question, hopefully that's answered. Yes, we share the job in that sense. We also share the driving. Okay, so an ECA would drive maybe with what's called a half and half. So half the shift, maybe the ECA would drive, and half the shift after lunch, the paramedic would drive. Or we can do what's called job about, which means the first job, one person drives, and then the next job, the other person drives. Which means when you're not driving, you're doing you're attending, so you're using the computer, the EPCR, and you're actually going to the patient and you're doing your observations as well. It doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes some paramedics said to ECAs, right, you're driving all the time, which, is not brilliant for us, but because we don't get to do the observations, but that's, sometimes some paramedics want that to happen. Otherwise, if we can do the driving half and half is great. If, of course, anything happens and we have to blue light the patient back to a hospital, or the patient's not stable enough for an ECA's training for them to be in the back of the ambulance, then the paramedic will request the ECA to then go to the front of the vehicle to drive on blue light or however they want to drive, so that the paramedic can then attend with the patient. So that's the job, really, basically, for those two. The other thing that was asked by Shannon was in the course we have materials, we have books given to us. So you start the course, and they give you all the books you require. For example, let's have a look here. This is the one that they gave me. Okay, and I still look at this even now. This is like 4 months down the line. I still look at this even now, which is really good. So, and that's part of what the SWAST pay for, or the ambulance service pay for, is all material. I would say, even if you pass the course, look back on the material they're giving you, because it's always good to sort of keep in mind, ideas and how to use things. Sometimes on the ambulance service, you don't actually get to use all the equipment until like 3 or 4 months down the line, and you think, oh, how do they use that? Things like the carry chair you would use pretty much all the time with the tracks. So get to know how to put tracks on. You'll know what tracks were when you start up with this. But it helps basically for the patient to go down the stairs on a carry chair, and you don't actually physically have to carry them. So we're always protecting our back with this, okay? But some people forget how to put the tracks on because it's been so long since the course, and some people don't actually use tracks after, say, 2 months, and they forget how to put them on. So have a look in the manual, have a look in the book, what to do with a child CPR. I mean, it's a horrible thought, but even I sort of thought, oh cracky, I've forgotten how many compressions to breaths I had to do. So I'm constantly going through material again. It's really good to keep that knowledge up, because one day you will need that knowledge, and if it's not there, then you and the patient are in big trouble. Okay, so that's another thing. The other thing was Shannon asked about base stations. Okay, so when you apply for an ECA job, there's obviously a lot of paperwork to go through beforehand. One of the questions is where's the location where you would like to work? Okay, and they're in sectional areas. So for example, in our local area, you've got Christchurch, Poole, Bournemouth, St Leonard's, whatever. There could be Cornwall, it could be Devon, it could be London, or wherever. They're in sort of sections. Okay, so have a thought about where your nearest area is and have a look at that section and just tick those boxes. Okay, if you're happy to work in those areas, and then your base station or your administration base would be the one closest to your house usually. Okay, I have known that someone's base station is like an hour away from their home, but that was unfortunate because they moved at that point as well. For base stations, it's very important to know what it is. One is because that's where your paycheck goes. Okay. The other thing is when you are moving, when you are working, especially on relief, if you're say in one base station, okay, and you then have to go to another station to work, okay, then your travel expenses is between your base station to that station and return. Okay, if your home address is say here, okay, and your base station's here, I don't believe you get the money for it. It basically means whatever your base station is, and then onto the next station is you get travel expenses. But don't quote me on that. It was just something I just popped in my head then. So, but you can get travel expenses for petrol for past your base station to the next one and back again. Okay, but the important thing is that's where your paycheck goes, and that's where your manager is, and that's where your team of people usually are. I mean, my bus station I've only worked out a few times, and most of my station work has been, about 6 or 7 miles away. So it's just roundabout, really. It doesn't really matter where your base station is. If it's close to home, it's close to home at the end of the day. Shift patterns is another question that Shannon asked me. Technically, over the year, I think they work out as an average is 37.5 hours a week. Okay, but sometimes and quite often we do actually work more than that in a week, but just because of overruns. We miss like 15 minutes because we're back home too late because of an overrun, or we miss out a lunch break because we had to do a job or something. Sometimes I do 40 hours a week, and sometimes I don't. But I believe it's worked out over a year as an average of 37.5 hours a week. So, for example, this upcoming week, I'm working Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. Okay, and then in 2 weeks' time, I'm not working until Saturday and Sunday because I've got 5 days rest. It works, on averages. So if you're not sure about the lifestyle, your life and work commitments, I mean, I've got 2 young kids and I've got a family, I've got a husband and everything else, and we're okay. We know 6 weeks in advance where we are. Sometimes they change it within a few days' notice, and they were generally quite good, and they give you an email to say, or a text message to say, just that we changed your date or changed your time. And if you're like me, you've got childcare, which you can't change within a moment's notice, you just let them know and say, oh, sorry, but that's actually made me quite inconvenient. Can something happen? And they're very, very good. HR or ROC, rather, who is the people who do scheduling, are very human. They understand that people have kids, or they have commitments, or they have family life. And as long as you're upfront and honest with them, then they will help you out, okay? So there's always a way around doing this job with a family. It's hard, especially when if you've got a very young family like mine, not to be there to say goodnight to them, or not to be there to wake up and say good morning to them. But you do get that through the rest of the week, on say the next week or something. So It's not like you're working away on a rig or something for 3 or 4 months at a time, you know. So yeah, it is a doable shift, and that's just on the relief side of things. When you eventually, if you can find yourself a line, which is an actual rota with a constant paramedic or a constant time, you know exactly what you're doing for 2 or 3 years ahead, which is everyone's dream to know what they're doing in 3 or 4 years ahead, as it were. So on a relief, we know 6 weeks in advance, more or less. Okay, so I hope that's answered some of your questions there. And also, I had a question about what my keyboard was. Now, this is not to advertise this type of keyboard. This is just to show that this is the one I actually found that worked. And this is called a TechNet keyboard. Okay, so there we go. And on here, you've got, there's a battery compartment. And in the battery compartment, so I've got this on Amazon, okay? You have your 2 batteries, and here is the most important thing, okay? This is your dongle, all right? Without this, you will not be able to talk to your ECA or your computer on board the ambulance, all right? That makes life so much more easier than having to use the pen all the time. And literally, all you need to do is just plug that into the computer or the ECR, and then you just switch it on, because this also has an on-off button here. Oops, sorry, where is it? There. That has an on-off button as well, so you can save your batteries. Okay, there's no cable to this at all, which is fantastic, so it doesn't have to get wired up and everything else. But that's for me my own preference, because I saw my other paramedic colleagues use it, and I thought it's such a breath of fresh air that I could actually use a keyboard on that. Okay, and when you're doing your story, or when you're doing your history of the patient, and you're sat in the back of the vehicle after you've handled the patient, you're finishing off your notes, which you have to then sign off and then send off. Using a keypad is brilliant. Okay, so and I got that from Amazon for I think $9.99 or something. But as I said, this is not to advertise that particular keypad, but I'm just saying, if you get into the job and you find that the pen, the stylus, isn't to your liking, or tap tap tap, and you're getting like almost a headache, tap 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 sort of thing, then grab yourself a keyboard, and it will make your life a lot easier. All right. Hope that's answered your questions. Well done, Shannon, again, and again, hello to all my friends out there as well. Any questions you want me to stick on the video, please let me know, and I shall make a video just for you. And if you see any sort of inconsistencies, or if you see any incorrect clinical things from me on here, my big apologies. I will try to adjust them as I can. Like I said, I'm not a professional in the way of knowledge of everything that goes with ECA. I'm still learning, I'm still a student, and maybe you can come along and learn with me. All right then, but I still maintain it's the best job in the world, and I'm so happy and privileged to be doing it. So you guys have a very good evening. I hope that you stay safe and well, and I shall see you soon. Take care. Have a good night. Bye bye for now.